before it shut down the wells.
We were being exposed when we went bowling. We were being exposed when we went to the commissary. We were being exposed when we went to the PX. And then when we went home, we were being exposed over there.
That part of the story tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on CNN. It sounds like the plot of a James Bond movie tonight.
Who were willing to give their lives to keep our nation safe. Retired Marines are getting sick, terminally ill, in fact, in some cases, and they are convinced it's because of their time stationed at a base right here in the United States. Perhaps even more disturbing, many of them feel the government has turned its back on them when they need the government most. Abby Boudreau of our Special Investigations Unit is here now. She has part one of this report. We want you to watch this. It's something all Americans should watch. It's called Poison Patriots.
7 former Marines, or sons of Marines, all with a rare disease, male breast cancer. All of them fear their rare cancers may have been caused by contaminated water at the U.S. Marine base in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
I started feeling discomfort in the chest. My wife would hug me and it became, almost unbearable.
Rick Kelly was a young Marine at Camp Lejeune from 1980 through 1982. He was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1998.
I went to a doctor and they sent me to the oncologist and they did biopsies on both sides, and then I ended up with a double mastectomy.
Now, a single father of an adopted 7-year-old son. With no insurance, Kelly tried to file a claim to help with continuing medical bills. He was told by his local VA office that he has no claim, as his illness has not been proven to be a service-related injury.
Well, I went to the VA to see my local representative. He said, well, it's not the VA's problem. It's the Marine Corps' problem.
You know, a lot of us went right out of high school. We're so proud to serve our country and all these things like this, and it was honestly my honor to serve my country. I felt such tremendous pride.
Peter Devereaux was a Marine at Lejeune at around the same time. He also tried to get help from the VA. His claim was denied earlier this year because his breast cancer, according to the VA, neither occurred in nor was caused by service. These men say the Marine Corps should acknowledge the contaminated water made them sick, making them all eligible for VA benefits.
They're totally trying to ignore this problem. They want it to go away, and it kind of makes you sick, with disgust.
These 7 men are among the hundreds who allege illnesses caused by water contamination at Camp Lejeune. Some 1,600 claims have been filed against the federal government by former Marines and base residents, seeking nearly $35 billion in compensation. But with no definitive link found between the illnesses and the contaminated water, no claims have been paid.
We were being exposed when we went bowling. We were being exposed when we went to the commissary. We were being exposed when we went to the PX. And then when we went home, we were being exposed over there.
Jerry Ensminger, a former Marine drill instructor, lived at Camp Lejeune with his family in 1976 when his daughter Janie was born. Ensminger's daughter died of childhood leukemia 9 years later. Ensminger and others say the Marine Corps waited too long to test and shut down the wells after learning the drinking water was contaminated.
5 years. They knew they had this stuff in the tap water. They never went and tested their wells.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's criminal.
As early as 1980, according to these documents, experts hired by the Navy to test the tap water found it was highly contaminated. In 1981, the lab again wrote, "Water highly contaminated," adding the word solvents with an exclamation point.
These are very toxic chemicals we're talking about.
In August 1982, the experts found in one sample levels of trichloroethylene believed to cause cancer, levels of 1,400 parts per billion. That's 240 times higher than today's EPA safe level.
We've never seen 1,400 parts per billion trichloroethylene, so that is very high.
But it would take more than 2 years, until late 1984 and early 1985, for the Corps to test all the wells and shut down the contaminated ones. In a statement to CNN, the Corps wrote, once impacted wells were identified. They were promptly removed from service. A fact-finding panel created by the Corps 5 years ago ruled officials acted properly and that the water was, quote, consistent with general industry practices at the time. 2 years ago, Congress ordered the Marine Corps to notify all Marines and their families who might have been exposed. An estimated 500,000 people.
This is a population of people who lived at Camp Lejeune and were exposed to very high levels of toxic chemicals in their drinking water.
Richard Clapp is a nationally recognized epidemiologist who has studied cancer clusters at toxic sites.
And so I think that if cancer of the breast in men or other kinds of cancer have been linked to this exposure, that we ought to know about that. The families deserve that. The veterans themselves should know about that. And they should be compensated if the link can be made.
But for now, there is no proven link. Just Marines and their families who say they're suffering.
Having been a former drill instructor, where I trained over 2,000 brand new civilians and made them into Marines, I instilled in those new Marines our motto, which is Semper Fidelis, our slogan that we take care of our own. Nobody in this world has been more disillusioned than I've been. I feel like I've been betrayed.
It's a great piece of journalism, and I think the part of that story that gets me is those men seem to be extremely credible. I mean, believe them. They don't look like they have a lie in their heart. So Abby's here again, and I understand there are even more developments tonight that you're now ready to report.
Right. So much has happened in just the last 24 hours. I mean, we've already heard from so many people. So far, CNN has learned of at least 7 more cases of Marines who say they lived on the military base for a period of time and were also diagnosed with male breast cancer. We even heard from one woman who says her brother was a Marine. He also lived at Camp Lejeune during the 70s. She said her brother died 4 years ago after suffering breast cancer. And Rick, he was only 51 years old.
All right, let's do this. I'm sure there's a lot of people at home who just watched this report, and they're probably thinking to themselves the obvious question: why isn't the U.S. Marine Corps taking care of its own? Where are they? Why aren't they taking care of these guys? Or maybe they are. Maybe we don't understand. That is Major General Carl Jensen of the U.S. Marine Corps right there. When we come back, he will courageously take the tough questions and deal with this horrible situation up front.